Alright, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Friday afternoon. I am getting a lot of crazy stuff done. I'm prepping for my Pathfinder game tonight using Foundry VTT. There's a lot of things going on the channel. We've got a great active community. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. I had a great return on investment from the GMing Is It That Hard? Is It? Video. Got something like 21 likes and a whole bunch of views and stuff. So I wanted this video is going to be a little bit about everything. No game to actually review. It's just Mr. Mean kind of babbling, although we do have some reviews coming up. We have the Tome verse Against the Dark Masters coming up. Hopefully Mr. Brian is going to run a session for us one night. We are currently playing every Monday night. We're playing Low Fantasy Gaming, which has been fantastic as a player. I'm also GMing it. I have our third session this Saturday with Hobbs and Company at 8 p.m. Saturday night. And then I have an awesome interview on Sunday that I'll be posting with the guys from Grimforge. They are 3D publishers based out of Canada, and I'll put all their links and everything. We're going to do an interview with those two guys and see what's on the inside world of 3D publishing for profit. I'm really excited to do this video. Also going to have another review coming up of Warlock Grimoire. I'm not a huge fan of D&D 5th edition, but Kobold Press puts out some amazing stuff. They used to support Pathfinder 1st edition, but it doesn't look like they're doing that anymore. I've actually reached out to the company several times. Well, I shouldn't say several, twice, and I've asked them if they're going to support Pathfinder Midgard. It's a 5th edition setting called Midgard. I've done reviews of it. Go back in the archives and check it out. But I've asked at least twice, maybe 3 times, if they were going to transfer it over to Pathfinder 2nd edition, because I had some of their Midgard setting published for Pathfinder 1st edition, and I don't know if they lost the agreement. If anybody from Kobold Press sees this, please let me know. Put a note down in the bottom. Would love to see it in Pathfinder. I'm telling you, I would convert my game to Pathfinder, my Pathfinder 2nd edition game. I would convert it to Midgard in a heartbeat. If all that, I would buy those books. I would just buy them, because the Midgard setting, in my opinion, is phenomenal. Kobold Press does some amazing stuff. I even backed the Magic Item Kickstarter they've got going right now. I think it ends in a couple days or in a week or two. And I don't GM 5th edition, although I may start, because I really like Midgard and I really want to support that. And I'm also a huge fan of Esper Genesis, as much as I'm not a fan of the company because I just think they're lazy. But I am a big fan of the Esper Genesis core book and the Threats database, which is basically their monster manual. Phenomenal books, really well done. If you haven't checked those out, I've got reviews of the core book for Esper Genesis in the archives. Go check it out. And so I ordered the second tome of the Warlock Grimoire. They have another one coming out, and I think it's going to focus on necromancy, which I'm super excited about. So I just ordered it off of Amazon. Should get it by next week. So hopefully, after I've had time to digest it, I will do a review on that. Still have Frontier Space. Going to do a review of that. I just got my copy in the mail not too long ago. Last week, as a matter of fact. I think Tohawk on our Discord is going to run a quick session or two of The Dark Eye, which I'm super excited for. I believe I'm going to make pre-generated characters so that the players can just sit down and play, and then we'll go through it and we'll convert it to PDF and email it to everybody, or send it through Discord to everybody. So pretty excited about that. So lots of things coming up on the channel. As always, we're up to like 855 subscribers. So thank you guys very much for subscribing. As always, like and subscribe. Tell your friends if there's something you want to see or something reviewed. Feel free to send me a PDF copy if you would like me to review it. I have a Patreon. You can support the channel on Patreon. The link is up there above in the video. It's $5 a month. It gets you a special designator on the Discord channel, and it also gets you into videos, which I'm going to be reaching out to my Patreons here probably tonight. Well, maybe not tonight because I have my Pathfinder game, but tomorrow, Saturday, I will reach out to my Pathfinders and send them a message asking who wants to come on and do that game. It is a monthly show that has been on hiatus since after our December episode, but it is I get 3 to 4 guests on the channel, and we talk about that one game that's been instrumental to us in our RPGing, life, whether it's just a game we love or it's a game that is, artistically inspired us or something to that effect, or just, something that we backed and we really are passionate about. So I'm going to try and get a couple of the subscribers on, and maybe 1 or 2 industry people to come on, and we'll talk about that. And it's usually lasts about an hour, sometimes up to 2 hours. And we each, like I said, we highlight a game and we talk about it. So my Patreon subscribers, keep an eye out for that message. It'll be coming out soon. I may even be able to get to it today before I finish prepping for my Pathfinder game. But the big thing I wanted to talk about, that was 5 minutes of your life you're never going to get back. I do apologize. The big thing I wanted to talk about is being a player. We talked about the GM, and you do you, as one of the people mentioned in the notes below. But I've gotten a lot of comments about, and I have 2 players in my local gaming group that fall into this category, that they've never role played before. They've played some video games or they played Xbox, but they've never role played a game before. They don't know how to do it. What's involved? How do I get started? Where do I start? Who do I start with? What do I need? So in this video, we're going to try to answer all of that. So with the first step is, how do I get John, Mr. Mean? I'm interested in role-playing games. How do I get started? Well, before COVID, I would have said, go to your local gaming store, your Magic the Gathering card shop, your gaming type store that sells tabletop RPGs or board games, and ask them. A lot of times they'll have a board up, or they'll have a message board, because we're a digital age now, so they'll have a message board up, or they'll have just a cork board with phone numbers up and stuff like that. And that was a great way to find a GM or find other interested players and to get started in the hobby. But that, unfortunately, with COVID now, is not really an option anymore, because, well, there's no in-store gaming, and a lot of places are shutting down, sadly. So it is what it is. So what I would say now is, with Roll20, Foundry, and Fantasy Grounds, and Astral, there's a couple others out there, Battlegrounds. There's a numerous amounts of VTTs out there, virtual tabletops, and they all have their own sort of forum and or Discord that will put you in touch with prospective other players. Another really great site is Demiplane, and I'll make sure to put a link to that in the show notes. Demiplane is a new service that is basically, it does online hosting of games, but its main focus is to put players in touch with GMs and vice versa. So, all that being said, all the digital and the electronic ways to do it, what do you as a player need? Well, first and foremost, the main thing is you just need a willingness and a desire to play and to learn. Because there's always going to be some rules involved, when you play a game. I'm going to grab my copy of Low Fantasy here. I mean, this is pretty much your standard RPG. And this is everything you need all in one. This game right here, Low Fantasy Gaming, you don't need to buy anything else. You can play with just this book. Games like Dungeons and Dragons, if you're going to be a player, you probably need the player's handbook, and it might not be a bad idea to maybe pick up the Dungeon Master Guide, but you don't need to. As a Dungeon Master, you need all 3 books, or a Game Master. For Dungeons and Dragons, you would need all the books. But as a player, you can get away with just a PDF, which the Open Games license is free. You can go on WotC's website and download it for free. Or, you can buy a copy on Amazon, or your better yet, support your favorite local game store that now that you've found one, reach out to them and see if they sell it. and go from there. That's always a great way to support your local. Buy books from the game store. But again, that's all you need is if there's a player's guide available for it. That's all you need, and read it. You don't have to memorize it. You don't have to absorb it, but you need to be familiar with it. And then, obviously, if you're at this stage, you most likely have a game master, so you want to get in touch with them, or a dungeon master, or storyteller, or an arbitrator, whatever you want to call them. And you want to get the parameters for the game that you're playing and what the rules are. That person, he or she, is going to be able to tell you what it is you need or don't need. And of course, you probably need some dice and pencil and paper, whether it's scrap paper, 3.5, a notebook, your iPad. There's digital character sheets out there now that work really well. So that's kind of, you have a lot of options, but it can be overwhelming, and you can get, a lot of people have analysis paralysis. I'm one of them. You would think with all these games back here that I wouldn't, but I do. If someone says, hey, run a game, John, I stare at that shelf right there, or the multitude of boxes that are on either side of me, and I literally kind of freak out and go, I don't know what I want to run. I have so many choices. But hopefully you're not in that situation. You don't have a ton of game books sitting around your house, and maybe you just have, Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or The Dark Eye, whatever the game of choice for you is. And you know what you want to play. So now it's just a matter of finding a GM and finding other vested players like you that want to play. And the great thing about being new is there's that sense of wonder, right? The sense of learning, of discovering something new that you've never seen before. We can all flip through the book, right? And then the pretty pictures and everything sets a tone and a mood in our mind. But until we play the game, we don't know, because every GM runs a different type of game. My low fantasy game that I run for Hobbs is completely different from his game that he's running for his friends on his group. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Hobbs' channel, please go check it out. He streams all the time, and it's really fun to watch his low fantasy gaming. But yeah, so that's the first thing, is you need whatever the book is, the game du jour, whether it be PDF or physical. You need some sort of copy, so rules reference that you can make a character out of and be prepared for when your GM is ready to run. You obviously are going to need polyhedral dice, your standard dice set. I don't have any close by within reach, sadly. I do. And there's all kinds of dice. I mean, we've got D8s. We got D10s, D12s, D20, of course, if you're playing a D&D type game. And so a set of polyhedral dice, and that's another totally separate side of the hobby, is dice collecting. You can have, there's never a such thing as too many dice, in my opinion. And I have dice that I roll for certain things, and other, and it's weird. Everybody has their own, dice fetish or rumor about dice and how they work or they don't work. And, and that's perfectly fine. There is no wrong or right way. Have as many dice as you like. Have as little dice. I think you should have enough dice. If you're playing Shadowrun, you're going to want, at least 10 D6. If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, you're going to want at least one, and I would actually err on the side and say 2 full sets of polyhedral dice, because you're going to sometimes need more than 1d6 if your set only came with 1d6. So having a couple sets of dice for the game that you're playing, if you're playing Fate or Fudge, you'd want to have those proprietary d6 dice and that sort of thing. So you get the dice out of the way. Maybe you're playing Malifaux Through the Breach, which uses cards. So now you need a deck of cards. So make sure you have the proprietary items that you need to play your game. The good thing is a lot of times there are separate, purchases where you can take it and you can go from there. So that's the cool part. You can do that and knock it out. Let's see what else. Pen, paper, of course, like we said, iPad. I use my iPad at the gaming table sometimes when I'm a player. I use it as a GM to run Sirenscape when I'm running locally here at home. In Foundry, I'm using Foundry Virtual Tabletop, and that has a audio player built into it, so I use that to help just set the mood and everything for the game. What else do you need as a player? Like I said, you need a willingness to learn, be open-minded. I think the big thing is if your GM doesn't come to you, and we touched on this in the GMing video, but as a player, I think it's your responsibility to tell the GM what you're looking to play. What kind of game do you want to play? And if the GM is running that kind of game, then great. Then you guys start collaborating, and you tell the game, you tell the story that you want to tell, and everybody's on the same page, and everybody has a great time. So, excuse me. So make sure that you're on the same page as your GM. You know, hey GM, what kind of game are you wanting to run? This is what I would like to play. You know, I want to play a murder hobo. I want to play a ballerina that, you know, her troop has been destroyed and she's out for revenge, or you know, I want to find my long lost tribe because I'm the last of the Arashari, and I want to, you know, I want to find members of my tribe, and you know, that could be kind of a backstory into the game as well, if that's okay with you. And that kind of collaborative game preparation, GMs eat up. 9 out of 10 GMs will eat up. The other thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, how does this work? How do I do this? Is it okay to speak in a funny voice? Is it okay to wear a costume? Some people really get into it. You know, if you're a cosplayer, but you've never played a role-playing game, man, you're going to be the belle of the ball or the prince of the hour if you show up in game in a costume, and everyone's going to be like, wow, they're going to be totally into that. Now, you know, but again, whoever's hosting the game, if you're in a situation where you can go play physically with people, make sure it's okay. Check with the host or hostess and make sure that's okay to you know, hey, I have a really cool Klingon costume. I know we're playing Star Trek and I'm playing a Klingon. Can I wear my cosplay? Is that okay? And if they may say, sure, I personally would think that would be amazing. I am not a cosplayer. I have no desire to dress up. I'm already funny looking, so I don't need to add to it. But I think it's cool. I watch a lot of videos on cosplayers and the people who make the costumes, because I think that creative side is super awesome, and that's just another creative outlet, and you know, goes hand in hand with role playing. So I think that's awesome. So maybe you're into LARPing. You know, role playing a tabletop game can lead to LARPing once this pandemic is over, and now your cosplay is, you know, through the roof, because now you're cosplaying your character in, you know, an RPG where you're using live action role playing rules. So it can lead to a lot of different things and a lot of neat stuff. So I think the being open minded, asking questions, and you know, everybody's a little shy and insecure about things they don't know, but as you learn and get more knowledgeable and get more comfortable with the people you're playing with, those inhibitions and worries will go away. And that's the fun thing. Your gaming group will become a second family and may even become some of your best friends. Brian Isakoff, Adam Rinchin, Brian Kelly, Boris, these guys are lifelong friends of mine that I've known for over 20 years, and we all met playing, you know, role-playing games. Playing Warhammer, playing Vampire, playing Legends of the Five Rings. These are guys that I have fond memories of interacting with and hanging out with, you know, hours on end, and telling really cool stories. So, yeah, it's a great hobby. It costs little to no money unless you're the GM and you get stupid or you like collecting. I was into motorcycles for a while. Motorcycles are a very expensive hobby. I was into computers for a long time, and obviously that's another very expensive hobby. So this is relatively inexpensive. It's still expensive, but it's not as expensive as like classic cars or, you know, old cameras and things like that. So it's just another hobby. It's how you choose to spend your time and what you have fun with. But as a player, to get back on track here, the most important part, I think, is to be objective, to be open-minded, and find a group of players and GMs that are of the same mindset as you and want to play the same games as you. That's always super important, and you're gonna be glad that you did. And again, like I said, they can turn in, your gaming group can turn into lifelong friends, especially if you're new to the hobby and you're on the younger side, and there is no age limit. My 22-year-old son used to play with me when he was in his early teens, and he had a blast. He didn't stick with it. He went on to bigger and better things in college and stuff. But I have fond memories of gaming with my son Jonathan. I remember him playing a barbarian in Savage Worlds. We'd go to Tucson and hang out with some of my friends when I lived in Arizona, and we would go to their house in Tucson and spend the weekend. And Jonathan, my eldest son, would play this barbarian who was awesome. He could wreck stuff. And it was some of the fondest memories I have spending time with my son. So yeah, it's always a memory builder. It's always 9 out of 10 times it's a good time. You are going to run into situations where tempers are going to flare, attitudes are going to come out, feelings are going to be hurt. But the great thing about a role-playing group is you do become like close family, especially if you game with these people for a while, and you will learn the attitudes and the predicaments that you put yourself into. You'll learn what's okay and what's not, and that's also another great conversation to have with your GM. Is this subject taboo, or what is taboo in this game? And once you have that conversation, you never have to have it again. Everybody's on the same page, and that way nobody gets offended by saying something out of place or off color or out of turn. And gamer etiquette is another thing that I recommend be discussed at the table. Don't touch my books. I'm a big fan of, I've spent a lot of money on my books. I take very good care of them. Don't put your pizza-covered hands all over my book because you need to look up a spell, or ask before you touch my books. May I see the player's handbook, because I don't have my own copy. I will never force a player to go out and buy a book, but I will recommend, hey, be nice if you had your own copy, or make sure you go online and find a PDF copy. And it's really never been a problem for me. I've had 1 or 2 altercations where we were able to get everybody on the same page and there were no problems. So it's just a matter of proper discussion and being civilized and being mature about it, and I've never had a problem. I have a 13-year-old kid in my game. He's one of my players' son, and he's very respectful, very polite, well-mannered young man. And he's a teenager though. He has his moments, and I'm 50, almost 54 years old, so I have little to no patience for teenagers. I don't. But he comes, when we were gaming here at the house, he comes to the house, he's respectful, he's polite, and he's attentive, and he makes mistakes. He spilled soda one time. It was an accident, but we said, hey, don't put the drink on the table. What did he do? Put the drink on the table. So he spilled it. It happens, right? But nobody got mad at him. He felt really bad about it, which tells me that it was totally an accident. If he'd have been nonchalant about it, then I would have known he was being a jerk. But he wasn't. He was totally upset about it. And, since then, and he did that early on when we were hanging out. So he hasn't spilled anything since. And he's a good kid. So, and, we all had the conversation of, these books are expensive. Please don't spill soda on them. Keep the books off the table, keep them on your side or whatever. So whatever works for your gaming group, gamer etiquette is a big thing. Don't touch other people's dice until Some people don't care. Somebody goes, I'm gonna roll my dice. Oh, I need 4 extra D10s. Here you go. You'll know who the people are that don't want you to touch their dice, because when you go, oh, I need 4 extra D10s, they all of a sudden have to realize that their shoe is untied and they have to look at their shoe. So people are finicky about their dice, and some people aren't. It all depends. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't mind you using my dice if you ask, but if you just reach over and grab my dice, I'm going to have a conversation with you, So it's just a matter of, again, etiquette, so do the right thing, do the smart thing, and ask, hey, can I borrow a couple D10s? I need to roll. And some players be like, nope, you can't touch my dice. But 9 out of 10 times those type of players have a whole bag of dice next to them, and so what they'll do is they'll reach in and give you some that they don't normally use and don't care about. They're just extra dice that they have. I have a little treasure chest that I have that's full of dice, so I'm usually not too picky about it. But I'm also 9 out of 10 times the GM, and I'm behind a GM screen or I'm sitting across the table, so they can't get to my dice anyway. But the main thing is just be proper, be polite, be respectful, and you'll find that it's a great hobby. A lot of people, a lot of diversity. Duluth, I live here in Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota. It's not a very large town. I think we're like 85,000 people, which is relatively small for an urban city, but there's not a whole lot of role players in here, and on top of that, it's mainly just D&D. There's a couple Pathfinder players, but for the most part, it's D&D. And if you don't want to, if you're not running D&D, you're going to have a hard time finding players. So, I 3 out of my 5 players are my coworkers. So it works out for me, but I'm just lucky that that's developed over time. It didn't happen overnight. But yeah, so and that's a great way to, check with your job. You'll be surprised, especially among like your IT people and your programmer, if you have a programming department or a media department where they make stuff, like newspapers or pamphlets and stuff, you'll be surprised. All of those creative type people, 9 out of 10 times, they may not necessarily be a gamer, but they know a gamer for sure. And of course, with the invent of Critical Role and a lot of, other popular media central type places that are making role-playing more accessible, more and more people want to get into it. And it's great because the more players we have, the better. So I hope that answers some of your questions. I'm very rarely a player, so I had to really rack my brain and think about the basics of doing this, and it wasn't easy. It really wasn't because, like I said, I hardly ever play. I'm usually the GM, although I've been playing low fantasy gaming with my buddy Brian and some other people that are on my Discord channel. Shameless plug for my Discord channel. Links are on my YouTube channel, but they'll be in the doobly-doo down below in the show notes. So stop on by, join the channel. We're always talking about some sort of form of tabletop. We're moderator free because we have some great people, and at this point we don't need moderators. So I appreciate everybody being mature and being intelligent and being respectful. It's a great community to come and talk about this hobby that we have, and I couldn't be happier with my Discord community. They are amazing. The Meanie Horde is just, they're super nice people, and they're very welcoming. And if you have questions about playing game X, come in and ask, man. We'd love to have you. I do want to take this segment of the show to real quickly give a shout out to 3 new subscribers. Michael K, thank you so much, sir, for subscribing. Zachary Andreas Valerian, thank you. And Underfire 987, thank you guys for subscribing so much. It means a lot. Like I said, let me check here. I got to check the YouTubes. We are up to 855 subscribers. I'm trying really hard to get to 1,000 subscribers so that I can try and get the channel monetized, just to be another little extra resource of income coming in for me and my family. So if you like what Mr. Mean does here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. And again, like I said, you can support me on Patreon. That's always an option, and it helps out a lot. And really helps the channel out because I put that money right back into the channel, and it does help. It provides for all these books and stuff. I did just get, I just got a copy and I can't find it now. My good friend Brian sent me a copy of Jackals, so a review will be coming out of that too, probably in the next week or so. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, it might be next to the couch there where I read. So weird. It was just out here. I know it was. I actually put it up on the shelf because I was cleaning up in the office, but I need to pull it back down because I need to finish reading it. But so far, what I've read, I've really liked. Bronze Age, like almost Greek mythology role-playing game done by Osprey Games. If you haven't checked out any of their games, They make phenomenal games. They're very well done. I highly recommend them. So looking forward to digging into that. So as always, a big thanks to Bri for sending that to me. I really appreciate it. Other than that, guys, that's all I got. I wanted to get a video out real quick. I hadn't done one in a week. So I'm on my lunch break and I'm coming up on 30 minutes here. So I want to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or any insight for new players, throw it down in the comments below. Let's get a discussion. Better yet, if you're a new player and you're interested in getting started in the hobby and you checked out this video or one of your friends pointed it to you, hop on over on our Discord and man, great community there. They'd love to talk to you and help you out and get you started. Maybe even get you into a game online. I know we're getting ready to do a Versus the Dark Master game. Tohawk is going to do the Dark Eye game. I run some impromptu games. I'm halfway through my low fantasy gaming. I'm doing a 4 to 6 session episode of low fantasy gaming, and then that'll be wrapped up. Then I have to go back to Low Life 2090 as I got the revised playtest document, I guess the version 2.0 from Steve over at Pickpocket Press. So big shout out to him. Thank you, sir, so much for updating that for all of us Kickstarter backers. Definitely looking forward to Low Life 2090. It's a phenomenal cyberpunk-inspired game. Think cyberpunk and Shadowrun came together and had a mutant child, and that child is Low Life 2090 because it is the game I've always wanted cyberpunk to be. I'm a huge cyberpunk fan, but the new cyberpunk really isn't getting it for me. It's okay. I don't have anything against it. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. The book is pretty nice, but I think the Low Life 2090 book is going to knock it out of the park when it comes out. I can't wait to see the finished product. So big shout out and props to Steve for over at Pickpocket Press. And so I'll be finishing that up. I'll be finishing up my low fantasy gaming session. I'll be finishing up the playtest for Low Life 2090. And then I'm probably, I think, dare I say, I may run a small, short campaign of D&D 5th edition Midgard because I really love the setting, and I bought all the books. They're all wonderful, and I really want to use them, and I'm really loving the Warlock Grimoire. There's so much cool stuff in here. It's kind of geared for Midgard setting, but you can use it in any D&D campaign, but it has a lot of cool stuff in it, so I definitely want to get my money's worth out of that book. And I just ordered the second grimoire, which is going to be the same form factor, yay thick, this digest size or whatever you want to call it. So super excited. I'll get that next week. I'll obviously do a review of it once I get it. So lots of stuff coming down the pipeline, guys. As always, peace and hair grease. And as Mr. Mean is fond of saying, in these troubling times, wear your mask and be nice.